he said to me when I left his office when he chose me was, well, besides what he said about being a warfighter, we can get into that, was you're going to need to be tough as shit. You're going to need to be tough as shit. But he paused again as I was walking away and said, but you're the man for this moment. I chose you because you're the guy that's going to put the warfighters first. We haven't had that. We need a guy that's kicked down doors and understands the consequences of war and why us deterring war, fighting it, and winning it is important. I mean, he gets it. And we can get into the policy of all of that. But ultimately, he reiterated the same thing this morning. Hey, Pete, I got your back. It's a fight. They're coming after you. Get after it.
Pete's out there doing his level best to get through, and we got to get him through. It's really, really important we do. Not sure it's going to work. I hope it is. Joining me now, my friend Josh Hammer, host of America on Trial. Josh, it's very obvious the GOP Senate, they want to be the one to pick Donald Trump's cabinet. They blasted Matt Gaetz out of the sky in about 35 seconds. They're trying for Hegseth now. As soon as they're done with him, it'll be RFK, then it'll be Tulsi, and soon Mitch McConnell will have chosen everything. That is the plan, correct?
Jesse, I think that Pete Hegseth has the votes to get confirmed. I think that Pete Hegseth is going to get confirmed. And more to the point, I think it is absolutely crucial that he get confirmed. First and foremost, because of the reason that you just said. Matt Gaetz already withdrew basically in the blink of an eye. I mean, has Donald Trump learned any of the lessons from the last time around or not? I mean, you and I both know, Jesse, that one of the biggest problems from Donald Trump's first term was that he was constantly thwarted left and right from people within his administration, from people outside his administration, from the deep state, from the shallow state, from the Congress to the activist K Street. You know what? Are you going to get in there on January 20th? Are you going to resume the Oval Office, sit down on that resolute desk, and are you going to demonstrate that you are actually in command of your own agenda, or are you going to let these people derail your agenda before you have even started? Even more to the point, are you going to let them derail your agenda with the most slimeball gutter politics in all of politics? This is just Brett Kavanaugh 2.0 what they're trying to do to Pete Hegseth. This NBC News article from a week ago with all of these anonymous, unsourced allegations. They won't even go on the record to say that Pete Hegseth allegedly had a drinking problem. This rape allegation, which is completely implausible. The woman didn't even report it to the police until like 4 days later. Anyone who's ever worked in that field knows that an actual real rape victim basically goes immediately to the police there. So I'm not buying it. And, you know, people like Joni Ernst has already said that she's planning to support Pete Hegseth. She phrased that in a very kind of lawyerly, very clever fashion there. Maybe a Murkowski or a Collins goes wobbly there, but I think that Pete Hegseth is getting confirmed, Jesse. And it is so important for Donald Trump's term 2 imperative that he gets all of his major picks, especially, as you said, in light of the Matt Gaetz withdrawal. He's got to get the Secretary of Defense nominee there. And on the merits, just really briefly on Pete Hegseth, you know, look, he's fought in those post 9/11 wars just like you. He's a war fighter just like you are there. He's someone who's in touch with the sentiments of America's young warriors. The number one issue, from my perspective, the number one issue that America's military currently faces, double-digit recruitment shortfalls among the Army, Navy, and Air Force, all three branches for multiple years in a row. You need a young warfighter, a telegenic person who can get in there and inspire morale and patriotism of the young people. Pete Hegseth could be that guy. Heck, Jesse, you could be that guy too, but Pete Hegseth is the one who's confirmed, so I hope that he gets confirmed.
No, I think Pete Hegseth is a little bit more qualified than I am, but just a little bit more of an education than I do. Okay, Josh, in your own words, take your time. Why would the Senate want to stop it, right? You see this national mandate, big election, Democrats didn't gain in a single county. Very clearly, the American people want whatever it is Donald Trump is selling. So why doesn't the Senate?
Look, the Senate is a swampy place, for lack of a better description. I mean, it's not the House. The House and the Senate are very, very different institutional bodies. The House is where you have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, where you had people formerly like Matt Gaetz. I guess he's no longer a sitting congressman, Lauren Boebert, people like that. I mean, you get bomb throwers in the House. That's just not how the U.S. Senate works. You know, even a lot of people who get to the Senate as bomb throwers, you know, as time goes on, I'm not saying that they sell out or anything there, but you start to become at least kind of optically, rhetorically more of a team player. I'm thinking here, frankly, of people like Ted Cruz, who you and I are both huge fans of. You know, Ted Cruz has not sold out in any way. He's still a rock grip conservative, but even now you see see him there, and he's willing to kind of sponsor some interesting bipartisan legislation there. He's becoming more of a bipartisan statesman, which is not necessarily a bad thing there. But there's something about the Senate. I think it's a smaller body there. You're there for longer terms. You spend more time there on the floor, kind of chumming it up there. It just operates in a fundamentally different way. And senators take their nomination advice and consent power, I think, very, very seriously. And to be clear, they should do that for good reason, because it's one of the most formidable powers that the Constitution vests in U.S. senators when it comes to judicial nominees, when it comes to cabinet picks there, when it comes to treaties. I mean, these are the things that senators have that congressmen in the House do not necessarily have there. So they're not wrong for taking that power seriously, but they also have to read the political tea leaves here. And that's the point that you're making, and this is the important point, is that Donald Trump actually, in basically all these states that I'm aware of, he actually ran ahead of these swing state Republican senators there. Basically, Donald Trump's coattails, that's the reason that we're going to have a Senator McCormick from Pennsylvania or a Senator Moreno from Ohio, places like that. They're not even in the Senate yet, so I'm not calling those guys out or anything like that. But the point is that Donald Trump really was the one who won this election, and he won it largely for the Republican Party, not the other way around there. Again, from my perspective, that entitles him to a massive presumption that he should be afforded the cabinet picks that he wants in office come January 20th there. If there's someone if he's like murdered his wife or something, God forbid, I mean, if there's something like truly 5-alarm fire like that in the background, then sure. I mean, at that point, let's go ahead and do a deep dive and vote that nominee down there. But at this particular point, Pete Hegseth, I mean, give me a break.
Josh, why is the bipartisanship in the Senate, why is it always one way? It really is maddening when you look at it. You look at Lloyd Austin, got, I think it was 90 votes. I think that's right. But it's just viewed as being a very bipartisan thing. And you and I both know that if Pete gets through, and I hope you're correct about that every single swinging Democrat is going to vote against him. But we can't go on like this where we have to be bipartisan and they never do. You can't hold together a country in this way.
No, you definitely can't. Look, I go back to the Ketanji Brown Jackson Supreme Court nomination in 2022. I mean, when is the last time that you've had like more than maybe one, like a Joe Manchin, like a Democrat senator vote for a Republican Supreme Court nominee? I couldn't even tell you. But Ketanji Brown Jackson there, I mean, there's always these institutionalist Republicans that are out there saying, oh, the president is accorded the responsibility, or he has the ability to choose for the Supreme Court who he wants to there. Once upon a time, Republicans actually did show some spine in this regard, Jesse. It was actually during the 2016 presidential campaign. That was when Antonin Scalia passed away in his sleep in February 2016. Obama nominates Merrick Garland, and Mitch McConnell and Chuck Grassley from their Senate Majority Leader and Senate Judiciary Chairman perch actually do a tremendous public service by fighting to keep that seat open. So Republicans can actually play hardball on these nominees when they want to. It's just a question of when they want to. The problem, Jesse, as you and I both know, at kind of a broader, more fundamental level, is that too many people on the right do not view this as a war. People on the left view this as a life or death proposition. The political arena, the Senate, the Supreme Court, the cabinet, they live for this. Now, look, we on the right, we have our houses of worship. We have other things that we live for. We have our families. They're not really the party of families. They're not really having children, frankly, for the most part there. But I mean, we have other things to live for, but we still have to care. And we still have to do all we can to not do this stupid kumbaya, John Lennon imagine shtick. I mean, what world do we think we live in there? I mean, the year is 2024. This is not 1984 and 1976 anymore. There's a fundamentally different Democratic Party. They're trying to pack the Supreme Court. They're trying to add Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. estates. They're fundamentally trying to tear down everything that this country is founded on and predicated upon, and we have a duty to stop it.
Josh, what are they going to do to sabotage Trump?
Well, look, I think the Pete Hegseth operation is actually part of it. I think what you're seeing now is frankly just a preview of what could possibly come, which again kind of gets just to the broader imperative of what you and I were just discussing, which is that you have to nip this thing in the bud right now. You got to fix this during the transition period. You cannot let this become a sign of what could come in the first few months, God forbid, the first year or two of the Trump administration there. You can't let these people, once they smell blood, they're just going to keep on coming. They're going to keep on coming there. I mean, look at what some of the major blue state Democratic governors are saying. Gavin Newsom is presiding over a special legislative session out in California to so-called Trump-proof the state of California. J.B. Pritzker in Illinois and Phil Murphy in New Jersey saying very similar things there. Pritzker in Illinois, if memory serves, basically said, you want to come to my people, you got to come right through me. I mean, that sounds very threatening there. Look, they're going to try all they can to create large-scale so-called sanctuary jurisdictions where they're not going to allow their state law enforcement, their local law enforcement to assist with ICE and various other immigration-related federal bodies in order to deport criminal aliens and things like that there. You know, fortunately, there's actually a very simple thing that the Trump administration and the Republican Congress can do in response to that if they actually want to there, which is that you can basically just defund each and every one of these states unless they go along with your plans to deport criminal aliens. That's perfectly constitutional. There's actually a late 1980s U.S. Supreme Court case called South Dakota versus Dole that basically stands for the proposition that Congress can indeed defund the states when the policy goal is related to what the strings attached are to the policy. So you absolutely can defund California, for instance, when it comes to immigration, if they will not help ICE deport all these criminal aliens there. So there's a lot of things that Trump and the Congress can do in order to fight back there. But I have no doubt that you're going to start seeing you're going to start seeing, Jesse, some brand new love for federalism, which is a federalism love of convenience, you might say. These people don't love federalism very much, frankly. You know, when Barack Obama or Joe Biden are president, it's only when Donald Trump's in charge, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm a big federalism fan myself. Josh, thank you, my brother. I appreciate it. All right. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.